When Mingri and the army to conquer Burma left Yunnan, the Qianlong Emperor thought he could rest his case regarding the insolent Burmese. The victory at Gotek Gorge was hardly surprising. After all, who could withstand the might of the 8 banner armies? There were news about the stubborn Kowntong fort. Even then, with Mingri so close to the Burmese capital, it was only a matter of time before the war was over. Then for weeks, the Qing court heard nothing. And the news finally came. Out of the 50,000-strong Bannerman army, less than half that number returned with Mingri's queue in their hands. Shocked and furious, the Qianlong Emperor blamed Dunke, the Northern Army commander, for failing to support Mingri as planned and had him sliced to death. Many Qing officials had been against the war. It held very little strategic and economic value, and it was not an existential threat to the Qing Empire. Now it was not only a wasted effort, but a costly one. The emperor turned to one of his most trusted advisors, the Grand Chief Counselor Fu Heng, who was also Mingri's uncle. In the 1750s, Fu Heng had been one of the few senior officials who had fully backed the emperor's decision to eliminate the Dzungar Mongols. On the 14th of April, 1768, the imperial court announced the death of Mingri and the appointment of Fu Heng as the new commander of the Burma campaign. A number of veteran generals were appointed as his deputies. Among them was a veteran of Mingri's expedition, Wu Gui, who would later be instrumental in putting down major uprisings against the Qing. Now, the top tier of the Qing military establishment was prepared for a final showdown with the Burmese. Before any fighting resumed, some on the Qing side sent out peace envoys to the Compound Royal Court. The war had disrupted the essential trade route in Yunnan, and many merchants were complaining about the pointlessness of the war. The Burmese too were receptive of diplomacy, given their preoccupation on many other fronts. The emperor, however, encouraged by Fu Heng, made it clear that unless it was a full surrender, there would be no compromise. After 3 military humiliations, the dignity of the state demanded it. The Qianlong Emperor was now determined to punish the Compound Court severely and establish direct Qing rule over all Burmese possessions. Emissaries were sent to Siam, Laos, and Manipur, informing them of the Chinese ambition and seeking alliance. Intelligence agents were also sent to the Chinese communities in Burma. A massive force was assembled in Yunnan. The numbers had horrified the Burmese, so much that the chronicles recorded that it was over 500,000. The Qing reports, however, gave the figure to be around 60,000 strong, consisting of the troops from the 8 banner armies, the Green Standard Army, and Yunnanese militia. Fu Heng arrived in Yunnan in April 1769 to take command. He studied the past Ming Dynasty and Mongol expeditions to form his battle plan. The invasion would consist of 3 armies. Burmese guerrilla attacks had left a deep impression on the Qing, and thus the plan was determined to avoid the route through the jungles of the Shan Hills so as to minimize these attacks on the imperial supply lines. A full army would now take on the pesky Kowntong fort once again, but now 2 larger armies would bypass Kowntong and go down directly through the Iari on each bank of the river. The twin armies would be accompanied by a river flotilla manned by sailors of the Fujian Navy. To avoid a repeat of Mingri's mistake, Fu Heng was determined to guard his supply and communication lines and advance at a slower, sustainable pace. He also brought in a full regiment of carpenters and engineers who would build fortresses and boats along the invasion route. Furthermore, Qing would wait until the monsoon season was over to prevent the disease from ravaging them again. The full might of the Qing Empire would be brought down on the insolent Burmese and avenge its humiliations. But the Burmese too were at their greatest height. After the close call against Mingri's army, King Simbushan recalled all his forces from Siam and other fronts. It meant to abandon his Thai vassals and everything they had gained in a 2-year war. But there was very little choice in the matter. The survival of the kingdom was now at stake. The bulk of the Compound military was brought to face the Qing threat. The cream of the royal army would be sent to the front. Alongside the Burmese elite were the European regiments of musketeers and artillery under the command of Yu Tujo, best known in the West as Pierre de Milan, a former French officer. Naval infantry regiments using warboats from Lower Burma were raised to support the Northern Brethren. One, Karen, Delta Lamar, and even Rakhine boatmen were recruited under the command of a prominent Hmong general, Banyao. The command, the best and brightest of Burma, was given to Mahathir Hatu, the victor of the Mainyo campaign. When the Qing army of 50,000 infantry and 10,000 cavalry left for Yunnan, the Burmese were ready. On the 21st of October, King Sino sent a force of 100 elephants, 1,200 cavalry, and 12,000 infantry to meet them, while Mahathir Hatu took the bulk of the Burmese army to the river with his cavalry and infantry following via the banks. The royal force was joined by levies from local nobility and villages, many of them from the Shan states. The long Indian contained the command he had held since the second invasion. He was reinforced with more men, firearms, and supplies, including European contingents against the Qing. Unlike during Ming's invasion, the Burmese were throwing everything they had against the Qing. Precise numbers are unknown, but after being reinforced by militia, levies, and their vessel chieftains and regiments from Lower Burma, the Burmese army was likely to be under 40,000 strength, with some 3,000 cavalry and a few hundred war elephants. Qing too seemed to be aware of the significant strength in Burmese defenses, as Fu Heng decided not to wait until the monsoon season was over, against the advice of many of his generals. It was a calculated gamble, as he wanted to strike before the Burmese arrived, but he had also hoped the malaria and the disease would not be everywhere. In October 1768, towards the end of the monsoon season, Fu Heng launched the largest invasion of the war. The three Qing armies jointly attacked it and captured Bamor. They then proceeded south, building a massive fortification near the Xunyangbin village, some 12 kilometers east of the Burmese fortress of Gangtung. As planned, carpenters and engineers duly built hundreds of warboats to sail down the Irrawaddy. With the Burmese army still making their way north, Gangtung took the full brunt of the Qing invasion alone. Fearing another prolonged siege as it occurred in the previous invasion, the Qing launched a direct and frontal assault on Gangtung with overwhelming force from land and river. However, once again, the Lamindin and the garrison proved themselves. The Burmese and European defenders held off galleon attempts by bannermen to storm the wall with musket fire, light artillery, and boiling oil. For the third time in the war, the Lamindin proved himself to be one of the finest officers of his age. The Qing losses were so heavy in the assault that they pulled back and focused only on bombarding the fort with artillery from land and river. The garrison suffered heavy casualties over the prolonged bombardment, but motivated by Lamindin's leadership, the Gangtung garrison endured and continued to defy the Qing. Hearing of the attack on Gangtung Fort, Ihatura ordered his naval flotilla, made up of men from Lower Burma, to sail up and reinforce the garrison. He then detached 3 separate armies to counter the Qing movement. 2 armies were sent to harass and prevent the twin Qing armies from crossing the Irrawaddy. The third force, consisting of lightly equipped infantry and cavalry under Deng Jiao was sent further north to cut the Qing supplies and lines of communications, just as he did during the third invasion. Ihatura took the remaining forces to Gangtung, where he made camp on the western bank of the Irrawaddy. The Burmese Navy, under the Mon commander Banyao, broke through the Qing blockade of Gangtung and managed to resupply and reinforce the Gangtung garrison. Banyao then took 500 of his men and built a stockade and enemy lines to harass the Qing. However, when the Burmese fleet left, the Qing returned and repositioned itself. Meanwhile, 2 Burmese armies were sent to follow the Qing river force and reached it. Despite arriving earlier, the Qing forces, being cautious of Burmese ambushes, moved too slowly, which allowed the 2 main armies to catch up with them. The Burmese armies, however, did not engage the Qing directly and instead built stockades along their position, including Nomian and near the Xunyangbin fortress, as well as along the fort and near the Irrawaddy. The Qing army on the eastern bank suddenly found itself surrounded by Burmese stockades. Fearing an encirclement like a Mino, the Qing commander sent 2 of his forces of around 5,000 infantry and 500 cavalry each to find and engage the Burmese force at Momien and near the Xuanyangmen fortress before they could complete the fortifications. General Nemyo Sifu, who fought the Qing in the early stages of the war, commanded the force at Momien and left his stockade to meet the attackers. As the Qing army arrived, the Imperial cavalry found itself charged by a large number of warriors. The Benton cavalry managed to retreat in good order before the elephants could reach them. As they prepared to counterattack, some 2,000 Burmese and European musketeers appeared from the jungle and fired at the horsemen. Under heavy musket fire and the charging elephants in sight, the Qing cavalry commander ordered them to retreat. The infantry continued forward unsupported, who were then attacked by the main Burmese forces. Fierce fighting followed, and superior training of the band proved themselves and they routed the Burmese force. The Burmese infantry retreated under covering fire of European musketeers and reformed behind makeshift defenses. The Qing forces pressed the Burmese hard. As the Qing victory was near, horns blared, the Burmese cavalry charged on both flanks of the Qing army. The Mar and Manipuri riders broke the Qing ranks with sword and lance, routing them with heavy losses. The other Qing force east of the Qing fortress at Xuanyangmen managed to avoid being ambushed and were able to engage the Burmese forces in the field. With shunned kitchen levies on the front, the Manchu-Mongol cavalry charged forward, hoping to break the Burmese before they could form up properly. However, Pierre de Milad's European musketeers stepped forward and unleashed a devastating volley that broke the Qing charge. The Burmese then counterattacked, broke the disorganized Qing, routing them back into the stockade. As the Qing retreated into the safety of the fortress, the pursuing Burmese soldiers were startled by the sheer size of the fortress, describing it as big as a city. As Fulham adjusts his plans against these new developments, and Mahathir Dura rushed forward with the rest of the Burmese army, one Qing commander would make the decision that would seal the fate of the entire expedition. Join us again next time as the war intensifies and one Burmese general would make a sacrifice